Hello and welcome to the cert-manager bi-weekly meeting. It is Thursday, the 24th of July. Just opening up the agenda. I could be way more organized, but I am not. We have quite a bunch on the agenda. It looks like Eric's going to be speaking a fair bit. But we have no announcements written out. So if anyone has any announcements, I'm going to give 5 minutes. 4 minutes, 3 minutes. No announcements? Okay, if there is no announcements, then I guess we can open it up to the first agenda item, which is a question from Eric, which is API defaults, good or bad? Do you
Yeah,
want to introduce it?
I can. If you open the PR that is linked in the first bullet there, this is a proof of concept PR I created some time back. The motivation for this was mainly approve a policy which doesn't apply the default of the issuer group that cert-manager enforces in the controllers. Which means that you have to be very careful when you define your approval policies together with your certificate requests in order to make it work as desired. So we currently have no API defaults in cert-manager, and I wanted to discuss a bit whether we should or could start doing it in cert-manager in the APIs. Because we have quite a few defaults which are now implemented inside our controllers. I personally like API defaults because, at least for important fields, because as Richard said, when you submit a simple resource with only some fields set, you can read it back again and see what kind of values cert-manager apply to it as a default value for the fields. So this PR is probably has some extra complexity, which is also mentioned in the agenda. The issue ref is actually using a shared type from the meta package, which is called object reference. And the way to add API defaults when you use control again is to add a default marker in your Go code. So I would strongly recommend to rename the struct into issue reference or something of the kind if you are doing this, which will be a breaking change on the cert-manager Go API.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is I have seen a push more and more to using dedicated structs for references rather than using we're already using our own meta object reference, but rather than using like core v1 object reference and core v1 local object reference. In fact, they're documented saying don't use these. And I have seen a push to creating like dedicated types, potentially so they can use their own validation for this.
Yeah.
Uh,
It
so
makes a
yeah,
lot of sense when you start adding markers to your fields and do your structs and so on.
yeah. As you said, the complication comes, is A, the first time we'll have any field defaulted on CRD, and B, it's a breaking change to the Go API,
Yeah.
which I can't remember the last time we did one.
Yeah.
It's been a long while.
But I don't know if we have an official policy for it. But I know that Kubernetes explicitly marked their Go modules with the pre-release versions like 0 because they want to be able to perform breaking changes on the Go API.
Yeah.
So
Do
but
does anyone else have opinions on either the defaulting or breaking changes in the Go API?
Um, I haven't fully understood the problem with the local. Is it local object reference?
The type is named object reference. It's located in our meta package. So the
Right.
name of the struct, I mean, it's only used for issuer reference, so we could avoid the breaking the Go API. But it looks a bit
So,
odd that the type will be named object reference, and then you have defaults which are specific to issuer reference.
oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. So it's like because the issuer ref in cert-manager
Yeah,
is an object
reference.
reference.
Yes.
But so which means we can't add our special defaults to it.
We can, but the naming of the structure will be very unfortunate. We probably have to add a comment that the name is kept only for keeping the Go API backwards compatible. Because it's actually
Um,
only used on the issuer ref fields.
If it's only used an issuer, we could do something nasty in that we rename the type to issuer reference, but then create an alias. Then it
hmm,
would strictly be, we could even rename it here to use issuer reference, as long as we have the alias here
hmm.
that says type object reference equals issuer reference. It wouldn't
Yeah.
break people.
We could even deprecate the object reference type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the cleanest, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, this one we can discuss further on. I'm actually more interested in discussions around starting with API defaults. As also mentioned in the agenda, this was discussed when Richard did the change of the default in the private key rotation policy.
So this is where I'm like on the fence about defaulting, because by not committing the default to the object, Richard's chains, for example, you can implement changes that affect existing objects.
Yeah.
You can change a default and it would change existing objects without having to, like, you can't figure out what's set by default and what's set explicitly. You can't do it. So in many ways, I like not having defaults for things we might consider we want to change. There are things like it does make sense to default, and this could well be one of them, because if you put just a name and if you just put just a name and a type, it's going to be a cert-manager object. Like there's literally nothing else it can be. So defaulting the group kind of makes sense for that. Like we're never gonna. There's no way we could change that behavior.
Yeah, so with the rotation policy, if I'd added that default to the as an API default, um, every certificate that's created after that release of cert-manager would have that new default printed into it
Created or updated.
Yeah,
or updated. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
because in my
But
mind, because
it's like I think I see Adam saying like, really, it's not. It's just what I might rather say is I don't care about the rotation policy. I just want my certificates to use what cert-manager considered to be the best practice at the current time. And if we had added these defaults back in version 1 and defaulted to never, then there'd be thousands of certificates out there which would need manually updating to
That
use
is
the new.
true, Richard, but you must remember that the default on a field belongs to an API version. We all know how hard it is to add conversion webhooks and migrating API versions, but strictly changing the default is not something that you're allowed to do within a version of an API.
Whereas if you don't have a default, we can it is exactly what Richard said. By not specifying a field, I'm saying I don't care. I just want whatever you think's best. And
Yeah.
that may evolve over time. That may have that like for example, say
I was going to say, like the my sorry, Adam. I'll just say this. Like you've chosen, I want an RSA key, and the default key length that goes with an RSA key at one time would have been like 1024, and then sometime in the future it becomes 2048 and gets more secure over time. Is that a good
yeah,
example?
that's good. Like, I was going to go with the example like maybe back in the day a version of cert-manager didn't renew a cert until it was like hits expiry, and then
Mm.
like that is a very sane thing for us to change the default behavior on. Like so like it's if you don't specify that field, it shouldn't be zero when it hits the expiry rotates. It should be like a given percentage of the way through. And we have that behavior. But I think yeah, there's two kinds of field. There are fields where um when you omit it it can be we don't you don't care what it means because so you accept whatever the system gives you, the cert manager gives you. The other kind of default is its meaning is implicit. Like it can only be one thing based on the context of other fields. And in the issue ref case, like it can only be group type cert manager.io if it's left unset. Like it can only be that.
Yeah.
So that's where I think like the distinction the distinction of the two kinds of default comes into play, and that's why I'm like that's why I'd be more tempted to allow this default and maybe future defaults, but like with rigorous vetting to make sure like these fall into the category of um, this default is implicit rather than an I don't care feel.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. So to conclude, should I try to work more on changing the default or setting a default in cert manager, or should we implement the alternative solution to actually fix approval policy to apply the same default as cert manager does?
Would it be bad to say both? Who says we have to dictate what version of cert manager you've got for approval policy?
Yeah. I was a bit surprised to see that approval policy didn't apply the same default as cert manager.
Yeah, you'd think like it would run across and default all the fields to like to 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 get an accurate representation of what cert manager does. But again, like then the problem with that behavior is it's tying itself to a version of cert manager. Like it could be like doing validation against defaults it's set, and then the defaults change.
Yeah.
Like
In
it's
general, I would say
Just
it's valid to.
could you restate the approver policy problem? I think it's that there are no defaults on the issuer ref field right now. So when approver policy comes to look up a certificate request, it doesn't know what the default issuer ref that cert manager would use is.
Yeah, correct.
So
It
if we'd had
only.
API defaults, there'd be no doubt. It would just be there baked into the certificate request.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's very easy to get a mismatch between your policy and your certificate requests.
Hmm.
So things are not working as intended with the policy. Either you set it in one place and you don't set it in the other place, or the opposite, and this becomes really messy. It's not doing what you would expect it to do. So I went around in the ecosystem and submitted a lot of PRs to Helm charts just to add the group to the issuer ref in case the operator is using cert manager. Just to be in accordance with the policy I want to set. I want the policy to say that I'm only accepting the cert manager issuer for this
Yeah.
policy.
And currently, only way you can do that is saying empty or rather than just saying
Yeah.
so, which is an easy typo to make. Like,
Yep. Yep.
in
Okay.
this case, I think it's a very clear implicit default. Like by not setting it, it won't. I don't think it will break anything. Like if people aren't setting that field, then they're already getting this value. Like unless they've done something very strange and forked to that manager or something. So I think it's fine. Um, to look at that. Well, the only thing I'd be interested in is like, is there any appetite to also put a fix in approval policy itself? So if you're running an older version of cert-manager, it behaves as expected, or do we just say, yeah, please update cert-manager if you want this behavior?
Yeah. We could start in approval policy, eventually adding a issuer group default there
Yeah.
as an API default, I would say. We could take another example, the work we're doing in Trust Manager with the new cluster bundle. We have changed the sources to be a list of references. Currently, we only have the kind there, but I will see the API version coming as a new field there.
Yeah.
And I really think the default there should be V1.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think like if you don't specify it, then would it be? Yeah, I suppose it actually in that case would the API version default fluctuate depend on the kind field? Like if I specify a secret or config map, should it be V1? If I specify a trust bundle, should the API version default
No,
itself to a sensible value?
it's an interesting discussion, but we don't have the tools to actually do it, I think.
Not until what's it called drops, the mutating admission.
Yeah, mutating cell thing.
Yeah, when that hits, but I'm gonna use the hell out of that when that drops.
No, no. Okay, I think it's enough on that point if no one else has anything more. I got some feedback, which is good.
I think there's a general consensus that it's fine. It's one of the cases where defaulting it, I don't think will have any negative impacts.
Yeah.
The only thing is like being careful about the Go API. It may be like worth throwing together a quick noddy main.go that imports the old version, update it to your fork, and then make sure nothing breaks.
One thing I wanted to say was that when I experimentally added one of these default annotations in the Go structs, it resulted in the generation of some defaulting functions. So those defaults were not only interpreted by the API server, but the generator functions did some work with those. And that was useful because what about in your tests? Sometimes I think in some tests you want to apply the defaults that you want to like create a bare bones certificate, but apply those defaults that the API server would apply before you start operating on it and testing it.
Yep.
So those functions are quite useful.
They are indeed.
That's interesting. I've not seen that in controller runtime. I'm aware of default to gen as something upstream. I wonder if this is what was doing it.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it definitely did something.
I think they're generated for our internal types only.
Yes. Yeah. But if you just use the controller run type the kube builder markers, I don't think it would generate those functions.
No.
It would just
Update the CRD.
Yeah, we can have a look here to be honest. You've done it already. Yeah, you can just see it adds adds that. And also 111 files. I don't so that's
Oh, hang on, it's updated ZZ generate defaults, hasn't it?
Yeah, but hundreds of files because I renamed the struct, which I don't think we should do. I would try out Adam's suggestion about having a type alias and then maybe deprecate the old type, and then we can kind of migrate in a controlled way.
Yeah, I think Kublint picks up on deprecated usage, so it may blow up the linter if you don't want it everywhere as well. But
Yeah. But anyway, I will look deeper into it.
cool. You got some good discussion out of that.
Yeah. Okay, next one should be quite short. We re-enabled Dependabot on cert-manager yesterday. It created a PR with a lot of dependency updates. That's not unexpected. But there are a few issues there. First and foremost, there is no real support for multi-module Go projects in Dependabot. There are some ways we can work around that. So I was interested in hearing what your opinions were on which workaround I should try to go for.
Yeah, I was gonna say Renovate.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love Dependabot, but after a while, I always find myself bumping against the limit, and this is just vastly more configurable.
it is.
We
Are
have
we
a
prepared for at least starting the migration in cert-manager? Because that would make this a lot easier to solve.
I
Mhm.
mean, I would not be objected to like if someone started work on if someone merged in a renovate config into main so they could run some tests because you can run renovate in dry run mode where it will just print out all the things it will do.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I can take that up because I recently did that in my job. So
Yes, same. I recently did it for a repo containing a bunch of Argo apps. Like it's
That
just
would
so
be super
flexible.
cool, Hemant, if you can do it.
yep, yeah, I can take it up. I can create an issue for it. Yep.
Yeah, super.
Yeah,
In the meantime, I've created a PR to bump the dependencies manually. I didn't bump all of them, so I'm looking for a review. I think Richard said he would review it. So
Yeah, okay.
that's
I did say I just haven't had time today.
that's
But
not a problem. I just don't want to get to the point where we are preparing the next release and then we don't want to bump the dependencies because the release is approaching. Yeah.
I think always been very conservative around dependencies. I'm of the opinion of if all the tests pass, then it should just be fine.
Yep. That's also my stand on this.
Especially in cert-manager. I've seen a lot of internal projects at companies where the testing is limited
Yeah.
and some packages of zero tests, which means like nothing gets done other than a compile. But I think if you've got like at least the level of test coverage you've got in cert-manager, if it passes tests, the dependency update is probably fine.
Yeah. I would also say that. So,
So
but
yeah,
great.
auto merge when.
So then that's enough on that point. I would love a solution where I don't have to work around Dependabot shortcomings.
Ash isn't here, but he said something maybe 2 weeks ago, which kind of I agreed with him. I'm almost I'm sick of upgrading everything, and I sometimes wonder why are we just blindly upgrading everything? Why not be even more conservative and just update those dependencies which we care about? And
So
when there's a CVE, update only to the patch to the least version that fixes the CVE, and then deliberately and carefully update the Kubernetes dependencies, which we do actually rely on. The other way to do it is using that Go mod upgrade tool, which just upgrades everything, including all the transitive dependencies. So how do you know that? I've never been sure if you upgrade all of the transitive dependencies too, then you're using a combination of dependencies which may never have been tested by the libraries that you actually depend on.
yeah, and this is why having such a full suite of tests help. Like that's why I'm more confident that in cert-manager than a lot of other projects, because if the tests run, it's probably fine. I think the reason for updating tests and keeping them up to date is because by not updating, you're kind of creating technical debts and potentially bombs for later. Like small changes over time, which seem annoying, like well, if a library changes something, like can cascade, and suddenly like an update becomes like something that is just painful. Especially
Yeah,
like if an
control
update,
the runtime. Like if you don't keep on top of that, for example.
yeah, I and I think that if an update is like not breaking anything, like we could either do due diligence and look through and see the bugs it fixed and see if we care about it. Because I mean, we may well care about it. It might be a bug that now we didn't know about that we want to actually include, or we could assume the best of make sure make sure we vet our dependencies on the way in, which is something we should be doing anyway. Like and assume that because we vetted them and they're reputable sources, that the updates are in good faith and
Yeah.
that it's probably a good thing for us to bump them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's just something that I wanted to say. I'm not sure what's for the best. Dependabot doesn't work for me. I agree with Adam that it just doesn't. It's not good enough. So I would tend to turn it off and periodically do a manual update of all the dependencies. I've never used Renovate.
The Renovate is interesting in that you can configure it like you can configure a lot about it. You can say the version range you want to keep yourself in. You can say, please update everything in a separate PR. Please give me a mega PR. You can update in groups. So you can say bundle these things into a single PR and bundle these things into a single PR. Like you can do all kinds of complicated logic. You could even say like, well, you can even tell it to raise two PRs, one for major version bumps, one for minor version bumps. So you could like merge the minor ones while having the major ones linger while you look at if they are going to break anything.
Mm.
And you can also like exclude some dependencies if you don't want Renovate to even look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you close a PR out, it won't reopen it. It will just if you do click reopen, it will update it. But if you close a PR out, it explicitly won't try and reopen another one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. I think we are not fully consensus here. I think some won't prefer to upgrade, while some prefer to not upgrade. So
I want to automatically upgrade. I'm a hardliner on this. I'm an extremist. If
yes.
test pass, merge it in.
Should we move on? Um,
Yeah, let's do it.
I have a work in progress, a PR to replace the deprecated fake new simple client set functions. And I've been discussing a bit with Adam why it's not working. And I found a proposed hack in the Q project, which was linked to in because this is blocked to do it the proper way from by an upstream issue. So this PR is almost ready. I just need a bit of help to try to figure out why the make generate is not working in CI. I mean in the pro setup, while it's working for me.
I'll add some comments to this. Like I don't know why we're moving these fields, for example.
Yeah, of course, you're free to make comments. The generator is failing if they're there. I don't think they have any purpose at all.
Oh, they don't, but there are replacements to them. Like there are coup builder replacements to them. It's the list map marker KS list
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
So we should of course add them, but I mean the generator here of the Open API spec detects a lot of issues. There's also a big file with the violations, which kind of now contains a list of violations
So they
which are
go.
currently detected.
So this PR in particular adds the Open API definitions gen, which updates code gen. and will, as a result, have a couple of impacts. First of all, the apply configurations you've already merged in, they get a new shiny extract function. So you're going to extract previously applied apply configurations. Secondly, you have this massive file generated called internal.go, which contains the entire schema of the CRD that is used by apply functions.
Yeah.
And this is what's used by the fake client for when you want to mock up apply operations. This is the magic that tells it how to merge in without an API server. In fact, it's generated using the external API server code base. If you actually look at how this is generated. So yeah, I am not against getting the fake client working. I think fake client having apply working is a good thing.
Yeah, and I've actually tried the other PR on top of this change, and it seems to work. Some tests are failing, but they are failing for good reasons, so they need minor updates.
Yeah. One thing is probably completely separate to this PR, which I noticed just because of this, is it's quite possible that we're moving a lot of our stuff to apply, but we don't set the proper markers for lists. So this will be an atomic upgrade for applies currently. We should look at adding the correct markers so things like this can be properly merged in.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely add the equivalent QBuilder markers.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking at this PR, I'm just saying as a separate item, we should
Yeah.
look and make sure our CRDs have the correct markers for lists so they're not atomic when they don't need to be.
Yeah, there is actually a file generated also, a report. If you look at the client.txt, you see that here is a list of the violations we currently have.
Oh, list type missing. Oh, so we have, yeah,
Yeah.
we should need to go away and set the list type and everything.
So this will be fun to clean up in another PR.
Different ideas of fun, but sure.
Okay. Anyway, I hope you can help me get this over the finish line. Help me with some goal skills. That'd be
Uh,
great.
it's weird that we're both like working on apply configuration stuff from different angles. Like you working on here, me working on I'm working on. I've got an internal fork of controller gen. I'm working on.
Cool.
But yeah, does anyone have any objections to generating the open API def so we can do uh, apply in the fake client? Give a couple of apply operations in the fake client.
No,
That's okay.
it sounds like a good thing. Wasn't there
Yeah.
another reason for the open API? Was there something to do with customize, or doesn't customize use the open API? Oh, I've got a terrible memory. I feel like there was some tool we were trying to use a while ago which
Uh,
couldn't work with CRDs unless you had the open API definition.
Yep. There
Is
is a
that
link
true?
there.
There is a link to
Yeah, to
what?
customize. I mean, the generated gigantic file that Adam showed with the YAML inside, if you generate it and point customize to it, customize can actually, I think it can do the right thing.
So to be clear, the massive file I showed, that's the wrong one. That isn't open API.
Okay, it's not the open API.
No, it is it's separate. Let me just find it. It's not going to be shown. If you actually read it, it's all it is information about how to merge. So as opposed to the X dash list type, you can see it doesn't have that. Instead, it has event relationship atomic. So it's not open API. It's different. It has the same names and stuff, but it's fields, not properties. For example, this is not an open API schema. This is a schema that is used strictly by it's generated by a tool that the API server uses to do schemaed merge operations. And it's generated here, so the fake client and also the applied configuration can do schemaed merge operations.
So where? What's why
So
is
the
it called
API,
Open API, Jen? Is there an Open API
because yeah, it does generate
is that amongst the files in the
this,
left hand? Ah,
which is a file, ZZ Open API, which is used consumed by model schema, which is a command line that dumps the Open API schema.
Okay.
So what it does is the Open API gen looks at all the types, and based on all the types, will generate a Go file that has the Open API defs in. And then if you want to get them out in JSON form, it also generates you also have this model schema application which takes this file and prints it out essentially. And if you look at this here, all it's doing is importing the generated Open API.
Seems
So
like
if we did that, that's the thing that might help with customize. Whatever
Yeah.
that link is, which I can't remember, it might be useful. Got it.
Okay.
Cool.
Since we're almost running out of time, you could skip my my next point. We could take that later. So I'm passing
Yeah,
over
sure.
to.
Yeah, we'll skip that and move that to the end if you have time. Do you want to discuss? I just ruined the document. Do you want to discuss DNS over TCP?
Yeah, so someone raised an issue to update the DNS ACME thing from UDP to TCP. I mean, provide both and add like a field in the spec to have a protocol. Yeah, I mean, the changes seemed pretty trivial. I just wanted to get an opinion if there's some opposition to it.
I think I'm fine with it. I mean, if it was a new provider, I'd be against it. We're not adding anything new. We're not adding any new providers in Tree.
Yeah.
But given we already have an RFC 1035 provider, like also supporting that TCP protocol, doesn't seem like a terrible thing.
Yeah, okay.
we also have DNS over HTTPS, so TCP would be totally fine, I guess.
Yeah, I
Different
mean,
use of DNS though, right? This is DNS.
this is the ability to talk to a DNS server to add records as part of the Acme challenge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, using this. So there's an RFC that lets you update DNS servers, RFC 2136.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that
You're
lets
right.
you update DNS servers using DNS requests because life is not
My bad.
complicated enough.
Nothing to do with the.
Yeah. So this is
Yeah,
just
no, I was confused when I read this PR and I had to, not PR, sorry, issue, and I had to go and look back at the code about what DNS is doing.
yeah. If it's
I thought it had to be TS. I thought it had to be TCP. Actually, I didn't realize because I thought it had to be a reliable connection, a reliable transport away.
no, as long as it fits, as long as your request to change the record fits in a UDP packet, it can be UDP. Like it's entirely. It's been a while since I've implemented this because I have had to implement this before. As far as I remember, it's you literally do a DNS request in the DNS format, and the DNS server takes that and uses it to configure itself, and that's the spec.
Right.
So like UDP is fine, but yeah, if this is like as small as the code change is, the fun thing would be testing it. We already run a DNS server for our tests for this. So in theory, if that DNS server also supports TCP, it'd just be a case of duplicating a few tests and setting protocol to TCP and making sure they pass.
That should be fine then.
That's actually one of the arguments of moving these things out of Tree because testing like software like this is really complicated.
There's, I believe it's been sitting around for a while, but there has been a long-standing proposal to like move them out of Tree but bundle them with cert-manager.
Yeah.
Like it's not a breaking change, it's just
Architectural change.
yeah. Apart from the fact if you're proxying our images, then it's a breaking change because you have to proxy more.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Feel free to pick this up. This looks like it doesn't look too complicated. I'll be happy to review it once it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, just throw a test in the end of it. It shouldn't.
seems like it's two Orange employees asking for this. You can see this one and the,
Now, if I
another
didn't know
one.
Orange was a mobile network, I'd be very confused right now.
Yeah, but just look at the names. You'll immediately see
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they are French.
We used to have Orange in the UK as well till he ran you out. We used to have Orange Wednesdays for free cinema. Yeah, this all seems very. I don't have any objection to someone working on this.
Okay.
It's one of those things of like I don't have the time to do. Like I don't think
Mhm.
a lot of maintainers don't have time to do, but we're totally gonna review a PR on it, and if someone implements it, I'm not against this being done.
Should we put? Oh, you're going to do it, Hammond.
We got a good first, like, yeah. I'm not gonna throw a good first issue tag on it
Yeah,
because
good first
we,
issue is a good one,
we don't
honestly.
we don't set this enough. Good.
I've said one about the HTTP01 uh, class English class annotation that is incompatible with the English class name field.
Yeah, and feel free to assign yourself to it as well.
Yeah, yep, sure. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. We have 11 minutes. Discussion about running Go run fortnightly on the latest and the one release. It came up in our last bi-weekly.
Yeah, so I think Richard wanted raised this issue last time that we are not running Go vulnerability checks on like the last minor release. So I did write up a script to do that, but I was not sure about like where to put it and things like that. So
So, I believe it's Go Run Track Pro. I can't
No,
remember.
it's in GitHub Actions. So you can
Okay.
trigger a GitHub action for a particular. You can trigger it as a GitHub action. You can supply a tag if you want to run it for a particular
Let's use actions.
commit.
Okay, yeah, because I thought like most of our ones that run regular checks are pro. It's just, but yeah, it is here. Um,
So what have you done, Hemant? What have you've written a little a script that
yeah,
uses
so
the GitHub API to trigger this workflow?
Uh, so I wrote a script which basically checks for the Git tags, pulls the GitHub, checks the tag, fetches the latest and the latest -1 release, and then runs the vulnerability check. But then, so I went to the makefile modules because that's where this is cloned from. And I was not sure where to put the script itself because there was a scripts directory in there, but then I thought that that doesn't get cloned to the base repo. Uh,
so why is the script solely to get the previous version? Is that what the logic?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I could put it in the action itself, but that seemed
I wonder if so I would probably put it's the script. The script is to do with the Go track, and will live in this action. So
mhm,
I'd create a Go scripts folder, so
mhm.
that would get cloned,
Okay.
and then you can get the absolute path to that, or you can just have the make file copy it somewhere, like saying because that's what happens with GitHub workflows, I believe. It just copies it. So like when you go launch, I believe it just copies it in. Hmm. Oh,
To
it
be
does
honest,
everything.
I was thinking it would
Yeah.
be. I thought it'd
So
be
yeah.
something that could it be. I thought it would be another GitHub action that used like the GH command line tool to trigger the existing action with particular CI variables. I
Oh,
suppose
mean-
you need something to identify which tags to
Yeah.
trigger it.
What you can do is you can have an action which runs a script and outputs value and feed that into a matrix which can
Mhm.
trigger 2 more jobs depending on the output. So that way you can have like one action that figures out what to run, which triggers a matrix, which triggers multiple actions. You can do that. I've just figured out how this repo works. Like anything in this base folder gets copied in to
Okay.
so like if you added base hack myscripts.shush,
Mhm.
myscript.shush will get copied into hack in the repo that you're targeting.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. So I'll run the script by you, Richard, and yeah, then we can collaborate on Slack to raise a PR, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, do that. I'm sorry I didn't respond to you. I was going away on holiday and then.
Oh, no issues, no issues. Yeah, I heard that you guys were on vacations, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Adam's suggestion to have one GitHub workflow that generate a matrix of jobs to run. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can like have jobs which output values which then could be used as matrices. It's been a while since I played with this stuff, but whatever. Because it would be good to have it would be good to have a separate run for the diff of each releases, because then you can associate it with you can run it against particular commits.
It would be used to be able to see the results of it though. It would be nice if it could be integrated into the test grid, because that's what currently tells us the any problems with the tests that are run against each of the release branches. So maybe that's a follow-up. But that'd be really cool if the test grid would start failing if govuln check was.
I think that would require migrating it to Prow. I'm pretty sure our test grid is strictly Prow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought there might be some way, but
Because it's not our test grid. There's this testgrid.ks.io, which you point at your Prow instance, and we've pointed at our cert-manager Prow instance. And that
so there's test grid, and then there's Ashley's dashboard as well. And I guess yeah, both of those could be updated, or one of them could be.
yeah.
Anyway, so it'll be useful just to be able to trigger the runs, but to make it, we want to make it really visible to us so we know when the problem occurs.
You could have
Could
it.
just send a Slack message or something.
I was gonna say, like, if we can get the Kubernetes people to give us a Slack token for our channel, we could have it just scream at us, like just from
That would be fine. Yeah.
Okay. We have 4 minutes. Maël, you've got something you added about list set design. Can you do it in 4 minutes?
Yeah, Richard reviewed. I'm waiting for a review from the Gateway API folks, and I met the SNCF French people. They explained everything about their setup, and I really enjoyed listening on how they are using Gateway API and cert-manager. I felt really proud. Train company, SNCF is a train company. And that's it. It's in progress. CyberArk might be sponsoring it. I think it's 95% sure it will be sponsored, and it will be done by the end of the year.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
it.
This is a good feature and good progress update. You have 3 minutes. Erik, do you want to look back? Can you do yours in 3 minutes?
Yeah, it will be rather short. I was describing this briefly this morning, but I'll repeat it here. Now we generate the CRD for the new cluster bundle API, but it's not added to the Helm chart yet, which is a good thing because then our users are not seeing it. So now I have an open PR to add all the validations that I could find a way to implement without a webhook, a validating webhook. So that's waiting for review. Ashley is going to review it on Monday, I hope. He said he would do. After that is merged, I will have to add a webhook, sadly, because we still need to validate the label selectors and the annotations and labels in the target template. Because labels, in particular labels, has a lot of restrictions. I don't want to repeat them in the cell expressions or regexp. So that is on the validation side to finish it. On the controller side, I will start working today with the first controller, which will convert any bundle to a cluster bundle by using the conversion functions that I now generated while working on the new API. So that controller will only be responsible to create a cluster bundle for every bundle in your cluster.
Is the idea that that cluster bundle would have an ownerref, so it's like it's literally a shim object?
No, I was actually suggesting to not have an owner ref. It depends on how we'll do the migration, but I agree with Peter this morning that he will help me test the migration and blog about it or document it properly. So we'll see where we end up. But the end goal here is to have only the cluster bundle and remove the bundle at some point.
Yeah, I was wondering at that point of overlap, would it be confusing to users? 'Cause without the ownerref, they could create a bundle, delete the bundle, and it'd still like pseudo be there because the cluster bundle's not been moved.
But the opposite is quite worse. I mean, if you're migrating from bundle to cluster bundle, I would first have my GitOps tools change from using the bundle to the cluster bundle. And then I risk having an outage.
So almost like automatic migration is a pain, and maybe we should release a CLI with like a migrate command.
Yeah, I mean, the controller will create the resource. So if you only remove all the trash from the resource, that's the CLI tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could probably add something to the webhook as well that you can do warnings in webhook. We could probably do a warning whenever someone creates a bundle object.
That's also an option. So I'm approaching something which will be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Migration is going to be interesting. We might need to add a section to the design just to cover migration on this.
Yeah. As I said, Peter has volunteered to do the early testing and help me.
He's volunteered as tribute.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the status on that. And I suggest we put a hold on most new features until this migration is done, like adding support for cluster trust bundle. That can wait until we have the cluster bundle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Richard's got a drop, and I think it's hit time anyway. So
Yes.
if everyone's happy, I think we can call it there. Everyone happy? In which case, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll call it here. We can stop the recording now. If you could, mysterious maintainer.